welcome back to my channel. This is Marla, and today I'm featuring a card using the Layering Carolers that's available now over in the Scrappy Tail Craft store. All of the products that I've used will be linked in the description box below. The Layering Carolers comes with 4 different images of people. So basically there are 2 adults and 2 children, and then there are pieces that layer on top of the images to bring them to life. Instead of coloring these images or cutting them out using colored cardstock, I thought that I would make silhouette images, but I wanted to talk a little bit about dimension. Many of you know that I absolutely love dimension, especially with die cuts. I think that they add not only a lot of character, but I think that they add they bring them to life is what I'm trying to say. And for the silhouette images, even though they are black and white, using the layering pieces, even if you decide not to use foam tape, is just a way to really add that extra something to an otherwise flat die cut. This male image is the one that I'm going to put together for you today. I picked and chose which pieces I was going to add dimension to. So there are some, as you noticed with the beard and the mustache, that I glued directly down to the die cut as it's intended. Then of course you had the hat, and I added that extra dimension with the foam tape to give it that lift. Here's a mistake that I made. I didn't realize that I needed to put down the top portion of the body of the caroler before I added the beard. So there is a scarf that I'm going to add dimension with. I'm going to go ahead and just trim away that piece and add my layer. It's not how it's supposed to be done, but it was a quick fix for me. And then I'll add the foam tape to the scarf and add that on top, and that will cover up any of the cutting that I've done and keep it very cohesive. For the girls, I added layers to their dresses. I also added that foam tape to their bonnets so that they were a little bit dimensional off of their faces, to the muffs that they have, which will keep their hands warm. I love Christmas carolers. When I lived in California, believe it or not, we used to have carolers that would go around the neighborhood, and they stopped at our house every Christmas. Now, this is many years ago, but I have not found Christmas carolers going through the neighborhood in any of the other states that I've lived in since. I see them at church events and things like that, but just the good old-fashioned traveling through the neighborhood carolers is something that I really, really miss. Now, this gentleman is actually the one that will have the songbook with him. It will be in his hands, so I added a little bit of dimension to that, and then I'll add the mittens and the shoes to his feet directly to the main form. There are so many details in this die set. I think that it's just absolutely stunning. I will be doing a second card using these carolers. It will probably go up on my blog, but this time, or the next time that I use them, I will color them up. I probably won't layer them with different color cardstock. I like to do coloring a lot of times when I'm doing die cutting, so I'll probably color them up with Copic markers. And there's a look at one of the older girls that I have already put together. Moving along, I used another die set from last year's release. It's called Assorted Christmas Leaves. It has so many pieces in here, but I thought that I would use these pine needles, and I'm using some of the new Distress Mica Stain. This first color that I'm putting on is called Fresh Balsam. For the mica stain, you do need to make sure that you shake those bottles really well. And then for the second color, I added just a little bit of the Winter Frost, and that added just a hint of blue to those pine needles. I used an arch die from my stash. This is going to be the frame for my carolers. I'm adding some what's it called? Uncharted Mariner to the background. Not doing anything fancy. This is Distress ink. I'm going to add it over the top, not adding any other colors. A lot of times I like to add a little bit of black to the edges, but not this time. I'm going to add some water heavy-handedly over the top of it to give the illusion of snow. I'm not going to do any ink splattering over my card today, which is a real surprise because it's something that I actually love to do, but I felt like the water working with the Distress ink really gave a nice illusion of snow. Using those pine branches, I am going to add an arch around the edges. There's two ways you can do this. I certainly could have added the pine to the left side in the same orientation and had them meet in the middle at the top, curving together, but instead I just went with the natural curve of this die, and I went ahead and went from the right side of my arch all the way down to the left side. So whichever way you prefer, I think it still is very pretty. Doing it in this orientation, it just kind of looks very natural to me instead of forcing the leaves to be in the same direction on both sides of the arch. Once I get these down, I'm making sure that I leave the edges of those dies loose because I do like to have movement there. That way I can lift them and arrange them as I like. And I'm going to add some of these stars. Scrappy Tail Craft has started carrying embellishments. They have some beautiful sequin packs. They have some stars. These are the gold stars. I don't know if they're available. I saw red stars in the store, but the gold ones might already be gone. They are part of other mixes as well. So if you are looking for them, just take a look at some of the other sequin mixes and you might see some of those gold stars mixed in, and they would work nicely for your sky as well. I'm adding them randomly to the background, making sure that I have that nice shimmer from those stars. And for my arch, I want to add even more dimension, so I'm going to add some foam tape behind this. This card has a lot of foam tape on it between the carolers and this arch, but I do want to mention that it really is mailable. I mail a lot of these cards, and one of my tricks is to put the front of the card facing towards the back of the envelope so that the back of the card is what is actually going to get stamped with the machine. And I've never had anybody say that their card has fallen apart or not come together in one piece when they've received them. I put a little bit of extra postage, I add those extra ounces, and for me, I don't have any problems mailing something with this little bit of dimension. I'm adding some berries to my pine needles. Now, I'm only going to show you these two areas because with my nails, I fumble with the jewels quite a bit. They're flat backed, but I still have trouble flipping them over. So I added them in clusters of 3 to the left and the right side. They were some jewels that I just had in my stash. And before that, I added that bow to the very top. I thought that adding that bow to the top would really, for lack of a better word, tie more of that red into my card design. So I have the top folding card base, which I adhered my arch to, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. It is a top folding card base. And then I cut the bow out again, added a small piece of foam tape where that knot is, and I'm going to add that right over the top, and that is going to give me that 3D dimension. So I have that beautiful dimension on the carolers. The arch is lifted up from the back of the cardstock, giving it dimension. We have the beautiful pine needles that are hanging over the edge of the card, and I just think that it's so incredibly elegant. I do have a sentiment from my stash that I'm adding using some red ink. And once I finish with that, I'm going to start adding a little bit of snow. So I like to add a lot of details to my cards, a lot of interest, things for people to really just sit back and look at the card and admire it. So adding this bit of snow, this is called Snowfall. It's from Nuvo. And as you can see, as I'm squeezing this so terribly hard, I'm trying to get every last bit out of this bottle. I'm at the end of this bottle, and so it normally isn't that hard to squeeze, but I really wanted that detail added. This is also from the Assorted Christmas leaves. I have the layering pine cones. Now, the pine cones are meant to be glued on top of each other, as I'm showing you right there. But as I was placing it on, I thought that it really suited the design nicely to have the solid piece slightly offset from the die cut piece, the one that has more of the pine cone shape. So I'm just going to kind of fan it out and offset it, and I'll place one on the left side and one on the right. I did use some more distress mica stain. This time I used some Crooked Broomstick, which is a bronzy color, and that again is going to add a little bit more sparkle. So I have sparkle in the berries, I have sparkle in the stars, I have sparkle on the pine needles, and now we have that mica stain sparkle again on the pine cones. And I really love the elegance. I just think that this is such a very elegant card. I'm going to add a little bit of that Snowfall from Nuvo over the pine cones. That's going to allow that same continuity, because of course if we have it on our pine branches, then we need it on those pine cones that are going around that beautiful arch. Once I finish with that, I do have this little jewel. It's from Prima Marketing. I've had these forever. It has a little bit of a gold, it has gold on the outside and a magenta jewel on the inside, and I thought that that just really finished off that bow beautifully. And there's a look at that additional dimension that we have. Finally, the layering carolers, because they are caroling, there are some note dies that are included in this die set, and I thought that it would help to add those around the outside where the pine needles are, adding a little bit more interest, playing on the fact that these are not just people standing in the snow, but they are actually carolers. So once I get this on, that will complete my card for today. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I will show you a couple of close-ups. All of the new products available in the Scrappy Tail Craft store are absolutely stunning. I will link Sabrina's video that showcases the lantern in particular in the description box below. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.